Hello, and welcome to the Nonstop Podcast. My name is Erica, and I'm your host. On today's episode, I'll be discussing living abroad with the beautiful Miss Nicole Brewer. Nonstop is a travel and lifestyle podcast that promotes the importance of traveling and mental wellness for millennial women. We discuss everything from travel to dating and careers to mental health. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, Nicole, do you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thank you for that lovely intro. As you said, my name is Nicole, and I am currently an expat English teacher based in Oman. I'm in the Middle East, next to the little brother of Dubai, of UAE. I've actually been teaching English abroad for a little over a decade now. I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally. And I started out actually living abroad in South Korea. I was a teacher there for a few years and wanted something new. I did a different experience. I ended up moving to the Middle East, and I've been based here for the most part ever since. I did leave for a year. I went to Germany. I did study in Germany for a year in English. So my first year, after my first year in Oman, I moved to Germany. Then a year later, after I finished my program in Germany, and I did 3 months in Cape Town. It's been a whirlwind of experiences living abroad.
Sounds like it.
And then like a year later, I came back to Oman actually after I finished my studies in Germany and that internship in South Africa. So, and been here ever since. So that's the journey. Nonstop.
Okay, so now I'm jealous. You've been literally all around the globe. Okay, I'm jealous. I need to catch up. Let's start there. All right. That's wonderful. So I guess I have tons of questions for you about that. So let's just get into it. All right. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. So when was your very first trip abroad and where did you go?
Ironically enough, my first big international trip was to Japan, I believe.
Nice.
I did a big one. Yeah, because like like I said, I don't really want to count like the Caribbean. Like that was too.
I mean, you can. What do you mean? You can count that. That's okay.
Okay, so then let's start. Okay, like the Caribbean, like Jamaica, Bahamas, like that was the first getting my feet wet, like going abroad. But like my big major like international trip was later in my 20s.
Full-on cultural difference, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what inspired me to do what I'm doing now. Like I had 3 girlfriends that were teaching English there when I went to visit them. Awesome. So that's literally like, I was like, maybe I should put that in the back of my mind to do in the future.
That's wonderful.
Here we go. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. See, now I've gone to the Caribbean. I think most people have because it's just an easy place to get to. It's really beautiful and warm. Got to love the beach now, right? But yeah, I've gone to Japan as well. So what part of Japan have you gone to? Tell us a little bit more about that.
We went a little bit everywhere. I remember we went to Osaka Castle. I remember that. Kyoto. And actually, a couple of my girlfriends, they were living in like small little provinces when I went. So I actually stayed with them, and then we did like the train ride and went all around.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so it was really, really cool.
I was gonna say that sounds so nice. Yeah, and I love it when you can actually get somewhat of like the local feel, right? You can feel like you actually live there. You're like, oh, okay, these are regular people. I get to go to the supermarket and just do the things that maybe aren't as touristy per se.
That was the interesting part because, like I said, having the girlfriends who were living there.
Yeah.
So and they studied Japanese in school, so that's why they were able to be like in a smaller region.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Cities. So it was like having amazing like tour guides who was like, oh yeah, I speak Japanese, and it's like, wow.
Let's do it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So what countries did you visit before choosing to move?
I really didn't do a lot of globetrotting until after I moved to Korea.
No way.
Like, yeah, it's interesting. It's like I said before, like Japan, that was like my first like really big international trip.
Yeah.
I hadn't even really done much of Europe prior to moving abroad.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was. I really took a big leap of faith because
I see that. I was like, what?
I chose Korea. Because Japan was actually, the place that I envisioned initially.
Yeah.
I had interviewed. I actually had an offer for Japan in Korea. And I remember talking to my girlfriends, and they were introducing me to people who they knew had taught in Korea, so I can hear from both experiences. And so it really helped having that network of people who had already experienced expat life. Yeah, but honestly, like now that I think about it, most of my travels really started once I left the country.
That's hilarious and wonderful, actually, because you just jumped out, and I love that. So, okay, what made you decide, like, I don't really want to travel yet per se. I want to just jump out and live somewhere else. That's a big move and that's a big difference.
When I was in Chicago, that was my last residence in the States before moving abroad. I actually,
Okay.
this was like around the downturn turn of the economy, the last recession we had.
Mm.
I was laid off. I used to work in market research. I didn't have teaching experience until leaving the country to go to
Interesting.
Korea. Yeah, so I was actually laid off and I was looking for work. I was I wanted to stay in Chicago, but I was open to wherever because I just needed a job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
well.
literally, I literally randomly saw the ad for the teaching positions in South Korea online, and I was like, I'll just apply to see what happens. And then when I got it, I was like, okay, maybe I'll go for a year or two.
Yeah.
When the economy gets better, I'll come back. And
Yeah, come back.
Over a decade later, I'm like, no, I don't think
I'm good. Yeah. That's
I'm good.
incredible. That is really incredible. Well, I'd love to see that. So you said about a year or so after?
Yeah, I told myself, like, I mean, I was unemployed. I was looking for, you have that period where
Of course, yeah.
So I was
and I'm sure a whole lot of people know, especially after COVID and all of this. So we can relate to that for sure. Yeah.
So I was like, well, the woman's going to run out. I need a check.
Yeah.
So
It
wasn't even a full year that I was unemployed because I had never experienced being unemployed. Like I was like, I'm a University of Michigan grad. Like I've never.
Hello. You better say it now.
Go Blue. But I always got jobs. So I was like, this is foreign to me. Like I need a job.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. So what were the deciding factors for you when you were choosing a place to live? I know you said you already had a choice between Japan and South Korea or Korea.
Yeah.
But did you have kids? Did you have pets to bring along? Did you move alone? Like, tell us about that.
That's a really good question. For me, I was single. No, I don't have kids. So for the most part, like honestly, it was really about which place do I think I'm going to have a better quality of life for.
Okay.
Because I was single, and obviously I was like East Asia. I don't know. Yeah. Dating wasn't like a big priority. Yeah. I just, like I said, I wanted to work. But for me, when I was comparing like cost of living and those different things, I was like, Korea would be the better fit. That was my logic. And I started research as a Black woman. Of course, I found groups on social media, brothers and sisters in South Korea. Yeah. I was asking those pertinent questions. Where can I get my hair done? Yeah. The different. So I saw this online community in Korea, and I was just like, this could work. So that made a difference.
That's wonderful. So that was actually going to be one of the questions that's coming up later. So as a Black woman and a Black person in general, what were some of the considerations or, were you concerned? Kind of talk us through some of that.
It's so interesting because the more I think about it, I was like, I really did just step out on faith. Like I didn't have a lot. Yes, I didn't have any experience living abroad. It was just like, I think I was just so inspired and grateful, like that I had people who had the experience and they were like kind of like mentors, like I said, linking me up with friends who they knew had taught in Korea and lived there. So for me, I think I felt more comfortable, like in this day and age of social media and being able to find bloggers online and research. I used to work in market. Yeah, I literally used to work in market research. So I'm all about research. I'm research.
Doing it. Take your time.
Yeah. So like for me, I was a little less apprehensive. I just felt confident that I can do it. And then it really sparked something in me because I knew I liked to travel. So I was like, this would be a cool experience to have. So I think I was looking at that aspect of it. I really didn't feel like, it'd be unsafe. I mean, I'm from the east side of Detroit. I used to live on the south side of Chicago. If I could survive there, I can survive anywhere. That's
talk to me. It's funny. That's a real thing. When you come from a certain place that has a certain stigma. I'm from Baltimore. And so every time I hear, Be More, Murderland, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, all right now, like relax. But at the same time, you have a certain level of street smarts and streetwise. So you understand what to do and where to live or, how to live. So it's not clean. But yeah, I totally get that. Totally.
Exactly.
All right. So let's move on to the next question. What was the process of actually planning to move? So, did you save money prior to moving? Did you have to find housing? Like, tell us about the whole process.
That was the beautiful thing about moving to South Korea, why I felt so confident in And I think a lot of ESL jobs, well, I'll say East Asia, they really
Okay.
set you up nicely. Like when you
Nice.
come, they have accommodations already set up for you. They have a little care package for
Oh,
you,
that's
and
nice. Yeah.
and like I literally had a Korean mother who took me grocery shopping my
Oh,
first time.
that's
Like,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy because I actually lived through a whole pandemic before COVID. Like in Korea, they had the bird flu, the swine flu. I actually ended
Yes.
up getting sick and I had to be in quarantine for 2 weeks
No way.
in
I didn't even
Korea.
think about that.
So
Oh
this
my
felt like
God.
deja vu, COVID. I was
Oh
like, I can't
no.
believe I'm living through my second pandemic. Like this is
That
like
is crazy. I
abroad.
mean, yeah, I never even thought about that. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So
crazy.
that's
Okay.
the thing. It's like, they provided the accommodation. And like I said, since I wasn't working prior
Hmm.
to leaving, like I had a bit of savings.
Yeah,
And that was part of the reason I was like, okay, this is why I
I
need
can
to
do
go
that.
because I don't want to just like live through my.
Yeah.
So I had a savings, but it wasn't, I wasn't comfortable enough. For me, I literally stepped out on faith because it was like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to make it work moment.
Wow.
Moving abroad.
That's
And
beautiful. Yeah.
thank the Lord that everything worked out.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, and
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of people, and that's kind of why I think it's so good to talk about this on a platform like this because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people that, especially during this time, they're like, all right, now I've been out of work for a year, or I haven't had been able to save so much. What can I
Yes.
do? And I think this is so perfect about what you're talking about because
Hmm.
this is not something difficult. You don't need $1 million. You can figure it
Exactly.
out.
You
So
can
I think
figure it
that's
out.
beautiful. Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Mm.
So that's nice. So okay, did you have to consider taxes or banking, insurance, like the boring stuff when you were going?
Yeah, like the boring stuff that I probably didn't plan as well as
I
like,
know. Y'all gonna have to do it different than
it's
me. Okay.
yeah, because like I said, I didn't have a plan to
Yeah.
leave the country. It was kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, this is just a push. I need to do something.
Okay.
So like for me, like I kept my bank accounts and everything open,
Okay.
obviously in the States, and I had
Yeah.
to put a lot of things in storage because initially I thought
Yeah.
I was going to come back after a year. I actually had a whole condo in Chicago that
No way.
I had to like rush and find somebody to like sublease. I lost that condo. Like
Oh.
that's a whole
Yeah.
nother story. So it's like,
Yeah.
initially I had this grandiose plan of like coming back and I was
Of
just
course.
wasting money on storage. And a couple years later, when I finally did go back, I just sold everything. I
Sold it.
started donating
Yeah.
because I was like, what's the point? It was so free because it's like I'm paying this
Yeah.
monthly storage on things that it's just stuff. I
Yeah.
had everything I needed in Korea. They
Oh,
provided.
that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm like,
So
imagine the shipping costs to get all that stuff over there. Oof.
right, it just wasn't worth it at the end of the day. It was just so
Yeah.
freeing just to get rid of it because I didn't need it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
So
I know when you were talking about when I asked you about things that you considered and you were talking about
yeah.
getting your hair done and kind of like the environment that you would have to live in. Now, did you
Hmm.
consider the level of healthcare before going, like as a woman, GYNs or like your
Oh
primary care?
yeah.
What about that?
Yeah, what's interesting is like I will say to this day that the healthcare that I had in Korea was some of the best healthcare I ever had. Like I've lived in Europe, I lived
Nice.
in the States, I'm in
Yeah.
the Middle East now. We got pretty decent healthcare here in the Middle East, but in
Okay.
Korea was top notch. Like I'll
Hmm.
never forget. Like I got a root canal done in Korea,
Yeah.
maybe a couple $100 compared to I would have spent a couple $1,000 in the
Baby.
US. And
Hello.
that was like I was like, ooh, even being here in Oman, like, OBGYN, like birth control is free,
Yeah.
like every like it's
Yeah.
over the counter and free. I was like, man, people just
Crazy.
don't,
Crazy.
I'm getting my
Especially with
meds.
everything going on with,
Hmm.
women's rights
Hmm.
and abortion rights.
Right,
Yeah. So
right.
that is
That
very
part.
interesting. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
did you actually speak any other languages prior to moving?
No, actually, I studied
Interesting.
Korean. Yeah, no. And but that's the thing. But that's the thing. That's why, research was so important. Like in
Yeah.
Korea, everybody's, they started studying English at like age 5. Like that's why
Wow.
they
Yeah.
needed so many teachers because,
Yeah.
I was in primary school when I first got there and they were already like, oh, dang, they're fluent. So it's like most of the people, like by the time they're adults, English is the main language. It's the
Yeah.
global language. So like all of the
Wow.
signs, everything was in Korean. I'm sorry, in Korean and
In
English.
English.
So
Uh-huh.
for me, it was easy to get around. I started
Wow. Okay.
studying just because, and I probably my Korean is probably better than my Arabic. Honestly,
Yes.
the Arabic,
Yes.
that's a whole nother beast. I haven't
It's
really.
funny. I only know pieces of certain languages. I don't know a full language. I can say I've gone to Egypt, so I can say
Yeah.
"Atheni bossa, Atheni hog."
Mhm.
Well, I think that's a kashwa. I don't want to say that. You always know the rough parts, right?
It's
The bad
true.
words and all of
It's
those, right?
true. It's so funny you say that because, like I was saying before, I was in Germany for a year, and like the words that I remember in German, and I literally swear to myself in German.
See, see,
But
see.
I'm
You
like,
always want the
why?
bad
It's
stuff.
like my favorite German word I can't say here. But it's like
Uh-oh.
literally I was like, I say it, and
That's
it just stuck.
hilarious.
I don't
That's
hardly remember
hilarious.
any other German but the bad words. I'm like, those stuck.
I feel like those are the ones that you either like you have fun, like you remember because they're bad words, and I'm like, well, how do you
Right.
say thank you? How do you say? I'm like, Jesus, I remember how to
Exactly.
kind of cut you out, of course, but that's it.
Right. It just rolls
Ridiculous.
off the tongue.
You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy, but that's wonderful. So you didn't have to actually learn another language prior to going. That's beautiful. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, not to say that a bunch of Americans don't know how to speak second languages, but I don't think it's pushed like it is in different countries.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
true.
that's beautiful to know that you don't actually have to be fluent in anything to actually start. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny because, like, here in Oman, just last week, I had lunch with a few colleagues. One's South African, he's from Uzbekistan. And
Nice.
we were talking about languages. He was asking,
Yeah.
like, why do you speak Spanish? And I said, I know I can count my numbers in Spanish. I said, I didn't
Okay.
study Spanish. He's like, what did you study in school? I said, French. He was like, but you're from the States. I thought everybody studies Spanish. And I was like, I have girlfriends. And it's funny because it's feel like deja vu. But I told him, I said, I have girlfriends who are fluent in Japanese. I was like, it
Yep.
depends on what you were interested in, what your
Yep.
school offered. I was
Yep.
like, I
Exactly.
wanted to study French, even though
Yeah.
I've never lived in France. But I thought, parlez-vous
Beautiful.
français. Like,
Look. Hey,
that was the
okay.
language. That was what I wanted to study. So
Yeah.
he was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. My mom studied French in school, and me and my dad studied Spanish. Now, my father I wouldn't say he's fluent, but he can hold a conversation. Now, me, on the
Yeah.
other hand, I'm struggling, okay? I am
Yes.
struggling, all
Yes.
right? So I got to do better with that. But I think it's so funny because you're right. In a lot of the states, you have options to choose.
That part.
But that's you have options, you know what I mean? So I think
Mhm.
it's interesting. Would you ever consider buying property in another country?
That's the dream. Honestly, it's funny you say that. Like, you said, I just
Mhm.
perked up when you said that. Like,
Yeah.
literally, I would love to, not necessarily here in Oman. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been here for so long.
Yeah.
I do love this country, but like my goal is hopefully to retire abroad. I'll live, either in
Beautiful.
Portugal or even Ghana or something. Maybe I'll go back to the motherland. Who knows? But
Hello.
that's literally like the dream. I want to early retire from teaching
Yeah.
and like
Mhm.
have a property. I want to do like a hostel or
Oh,
Airbnb
that's
abroad.
beautiful.
So that's
Yeah.
really my goal.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, you said Portugal, and I was like, oh, that's one of the places I think I want to go right now. I've heard so many beautiful things about it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll be going to Lisbon real soon. Real soon.
It's a vibe. It's a total
Yeah.
vibe. Everybody
See,
falls in love with it. Yeah.
I'm ready. I think I was like, there's certain places that I haven't been yet, but I'm like, I could see myself going there, or living
Hmm.
there rather.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
So did you know anybody prior to moving?
In Korea or
Mhm.
Oman,
Anywhere abroad?
I know. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I met
No.
people on the ground.
Wow.
Like other than chatting with people, like I know for the brothers and sisters, like the social media, the groups in
Yeah.
South
Yeah.
Korea,
Yeah.
like I chatted with people, so I
Mhm.
built up a little bit of a
Like a
network. But I,
social, yeah.
but when I first arrived, luckily for me, I was with the EPIC, the English program in Korea, like the public
Mhm.
school system. So they brought
Okay.
in a big cohort of teachers. So we were
Oh,
all in
that's
training
wonderful.
together for like
Yeah.
the first week in
Oh,
Seoul.
that's
So and
nice.
then
Yeah.
we all got shipped off to our cities.
Yeah.
But it was nice coming in with that like group. So like
Yeah.
to this day, some of my best friends are like people that
I
I met
love
in my
it.
days in Korea. Like when I go back home, I went to Chicago, went to Jay-Z concert with my homeboy Randy.
Yes.
Randy in Chicago, like yeah.
See, and that's the best thing. So I get that. As a flight attendant, there's tons of us all over the world. And so I'll,
Hmm.
if I'm somewhere else, I'm like, oh, I wonder if so and so is here. Or you'll see somebody on Facebook or social media, like, oh,
Yeah.
so and so is here. Let's connect. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things. You can go anywhere in
Agreed.
the world, anywhere in the States or whatever the case is, and you know somebody. I think it's beautiful. And I
That's what
think
I
that is
said.
what we need,
Hmm.
traveling
Hmm.
and getting to know
Yes.
people and
So true.
cultures and just, I mean, come on. right?
So true. I say the same thing. I was like, I have friends all over the globe. Like this is it's so awesome. I love
That's beautiful.
it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So when you or if you decide to move to another place anytime soon,
Yeah.
what will be something that sparks the decision? Like what is something that you think is it something that you
Mm.
just like, I wanted to move there, I wanted to try it, or is there a specific thing?
That's a really good question. I am on the fence about if there would be a specific thing because it's kind of like
Okay.
when I came to Oman, I didn't even know. I had to look it up on the map when I saw the
Yeah.
job posting. I was looking at Dubai, UAE, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh Oman, this little country next door. Okay,
Yeah.
check. I'll apply. So
What
it's
is
like
this? Let's see.
I would have never even it wasn't on my radar. And then look what happened. Like I'm having
Yeah.
like a fabulous time living in the Middle East. So
Oh, I
it's like
love
I'm
that.
open to. I tell people I'm open to possibility.
I
Like
love
I
it.
said about the early retirement. I'm like Portugal is
Yeah.
the dream,
Yeah.
but I mean if the right opportunity presents itself, I'm all for it.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. So,
Mhm.
what has been your most memorable moment or experience living abroad in any place that you've lived?
Ooh.
I love the
Oh
face.
my.
Ooh.
That's so really because I don't know if I've gotten that question. I was like the most memorable experience. That's a tough one.
Mhm.
Uh
I'm sure you have tons of them.
yeah, I do. And that's the crazy part. I was like
Yeah.
just like if like overload. Like
Yeah.
one of the best experiences for me, being an educator and like, living and traveling abroad, I think like popped in my mind was just like, my finishing my master's degree in Germany. Like I wish I could have
Uh-huh.
went. So I could have went. I was already back in Oman teaching by the time I
I see.
actually passed. So I had to do the virtual graduation. But it's just like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
no, it's like I wasn't there in person. But it's just like like you said, the classmates that I met there. Like I've gone back years later and actually linked up with a few of them. And it's just those type of experiences. It's like
Yeah.
being able to just have these memories of like living in Germany and studying abroad. Like
Love it.
that wasn't something that I was keen on, when I was
Yeah.
younger. And then it took me moving abroad to teach me to be like, oh, I think I want to get a master's in Germany. Like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
So
beautiful. I mean, and when
yeah,
you said you're open to experiences, I mean, you're open to anything, and I think that is
yeah,
beautiful. Oh my
yeah.
God, because you can literally. I know how some people like in the movies, they're like, "Oh, have a say yes day," but you like that's what you live. Like things
That's
that
my
seem
life.
to excite
Yes.
you, you do it, and I love that. I love that. See, now that's what we
Yeah.
can learn from Nicole out here. Okay, be open, enjoy it, say yes to positive things. That
You
is.
only get
Yeah.
one. You
Hello.
only get one. And I tell
Yeah.
people, I'm like, who knows? Korea, I could have stayed for a year and left and went back home. Or I
Yeah.
could have came to Oman and was like, oh, this isn't it, and went back home. But I was like, at
Yeah.
least I tried, and
Yep.
here we are. Like
Yeah.
home is not going anywhere.
I lo- I love that. Okay, so what has been your favorite place to live so far and why?
Ooh. I would say that this is a tough one because I love I mean I've been in Oman for so long that would be
Yeah.
the default answer, but
Yeah.
honestly like South Africa, even though I was only there for a few months, like
Yeah.
South Africa, that just felt like home. Like I tell people all the time, if money was no object, like I would say, being able to buy property like in Cape Town,
Yeah.
like oh that'd be awesome. But
Yeah.
I loved my time in South Africa. Like I was only there for a few months and it just flew by because I was doing an internship and then I was
Okay.
researching for my master's thesis. But that 3 months, like I just blinked and it was over.
Yeah.
And it's like
That's
that's
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, but I've been to South Africa a few times, and
Yeah.
so for me as a traveler and as a a blogger and influencer,
Mhm.
like I don't typically want to go back to places, but obviously that place has a hold on me because I've been back like 3 times.
That's what I'm saying. So, is it just because it feels like home? Like what is it when you go there? What does it feel like?
Yeah, it feels like home for me,
Yeah.
and it's like most of my like really close friends here that I made in Oman have been South
Mhm.
African. So it's like I
Oh,
tell them I'm like, oh
wow.
my
Okay.
South African sisters and
Yeah.
brothers, like those are my people. Like it's just in my one South African. We're actually going to meet up for coffee in a couple of days. But she was like, she was like,
Yes.
you're South African. She was like, even though you didn't really, I took the ancestry test and I don't really
Yeah.
have any South African. She was like,
That's all right.
you're South
Look,
African.
it's
She
the
was like,
motherland. We all
my
come from
default.
over there. It's fine.
Right. And she's like, she was like, my American South African sister.
Yeah.
So.
I'll take it. I will take that. Okay. I love the ancestry though. It's funny that you mentioned that. I did that and I had my father and my aunt do it. I'm like, let's figure out where we're from. So I got Nigeria and Benin and Togo. or
Me
Benin and Togo.
too.
Yeah,
Same.
see, and I'm
Benin and
like that.
Togo.
It
Yep.
makes sense.
Makes
That
sense.
was that's where
Right.
that's where most of
Right.
us come from. That little area.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
interesting. Okay, so let's get into some more juicy stuff. All right. So, what are some things that you've learned about yourself while living abroad? Strengths and weaknesses.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Strengths definitely uh just my confidence. Like I used to be a shy little girl, and then
Yeah.
even my eldest sister, she was like, I never would have thought you be the one living and traveling to all of these countries, and I was
Yeah.
just like, it's just like
I
I
love
never
that.
would have realized how confident I was. And probably one of my weaknesses is sometimes I overanalyze, like I overthink things,
Mm-hmm.
so I tend to worry more than I should,
Okay.
about
Yeah.
certain
I get
things.
that.
Like even though as free as I've been about like, oh, I'll just move to Oman, and
Yeah.
but of course the planner in me,
Yeah.
like that's one of the things
Know
about
a
living
lot
in the
about
Middle
that.
East. Yeah, that's one of the things about living in the Middle East. So you get thrown random things so often. I'm just like, oh, wasn't ready for
Oh
that,
wow.
like it didn't play.
Yeah.
So that's probably but ironically enough, living abroad,
Interesting.
that's something that's it's been helping. Like I have the inshallah, what will be will be. I'm starting to become
Yeah.
that lifestyle living in this region. So it's like it's a fine balance.
I love that. So I want to go back for a second. You say you get a lot of things thrown at you. What do you mean?
Oh well, I mean, just as far as like random, like it's hard for me being a planner. It's hard to plan like what I'm, for example, I have this travel community, I love the Globetrot, and we want to
Yes.
do a trip in January, like a winter break, a trip. Me and my business partner, she's based in Australia, and she's like, "Oh, when are you going
Nice.
to have winter break?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, it's going to be at
Oh,
some
I
point."
see.
So it's like,
I see.
for the planner, of me, it's hard to like. We just had a random. Well, it wasn't random. I knew that we had a holiday coming,
Hmm.
just this past week, the Eid holiday after Ramadan.
Yes.
But it's hard for me to be like, "Oh, I booked a flight to go to Europe like from Monday night and through like that Saturday, and then they ended up
Mhm.
giving us 3 extra days." So I was just like, oh,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
really
Okay.
hard to plan because they just like
Got it.
throw it on you at the last minute, like with
Interesting. So
the
that
information.
you think that's just the job and the company, or is that something that's more so like the country?
The country. That's the country. Like
Interesting.
the announcement about E like literally came a few days like that. That's just how they roll. And that's
Interesting.
because of,
Okay.
they base it on the moon. And so like for
Oh,
me
okay. Okay.
that,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
it's really different than like when I was in Korea. Like I knew I had
Yeah.
Christmas off. I knew I had, set holidays. So yeah,
Interesting.
just random.
Okay. Very cool. I didn't know that. That's very cool.
Mm.
So I guess kind of going and talking about some of that, what have you learned about traveling abroad in general?
Mm. Ooh. What I've learned about traveling abroad is that I would say one of the main things that I think, like, so many people are fearful about going to other countries, and
Yeah.
there's this stigma. Like, I live in the Middle East, so like, oh, how safe is it? I was like,
Yeah.
Oman is one of the safest countries in the world. Like, now I know that now that I'm here, like obviously in researching prior, but it's like people are genuinely kind, and I think that's one of the things that I feel
Mm,
that travel really makes you realize, like you get in tough
absolutely.
situations and people are just willing to bend over backwards to help you, and that's not the
Love that.
stigma that most people believe. They're like,
Of
oh,
course
you're going
not.
to be in danger all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I was
Yeah.
in more danger on the south side of Chicago than I am in Oman, like we're in
That's
Dubai.
crazy,
Like,
first of all. You're right. You wouldn't think about that. But it's interesting because it's the media, and how people are
exactly.
seen, or if there's something that happens, and now everybody
Yes.
is the same way
Yes.
as maybe one incident. And it's the same when it comes to the States. You and I know
Hmm.
that as people of color, and other people
Right.
of color are aware, that is a
Hmm.
real situation. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting, but you're right. When you
It's
think about
true.
any place, you're like, oh, I don't know. And especially as a woman, maybe not even just color wise, you're like, I don't
Yes.
know. There's some
Especially
places in
as a woman.
India I was told, oh, don't go there as a woman.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that, those are things to worry about. But when you actually have the
Well, yeah.
experience, like you're talking
Hmm.
about, changes your
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, and that's crazy because, like, just thinking about like the times we're living in, like, literally, I woke up this morning here in Omaha, like, oh, Sunday, our work week starts Sunday through Thursday. So I had to go to work this morning. But when I
Yeah.
woke up and I'm like, checking the media and I saw about the shooting in Buffalo, and I
Yeah.
said, this is just like, I mean, I was like, I don't have to worry about those things happening where I live. It's just
Yeah.
like I get so,
Wow.
like I'm coming home to the States in a few weeks. Like I was saying before, to visit my
Hmm.
family, coming to Atlanta and Detroit. I'll be in Detroit, and I get anxious, like thinking
Yeah.
about, oh, I gotta get back into big city girl mode, like
Yeah.
going back home. It's
Yeah.
like here, I'm my garden, and I want to see my garden totally down because like
Yeah.
you instinctually, I'm watching my back,
Of
but
course.
I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I have to put back on my big city
It's
eyes,
very different. Yeah. Very
hmm
different.
hmm
And no, and I
Yeah.
understand that. And so how does that make you feel though?
It's disheartening,
Yeah.
because it's like I'm coming home. I just want to see my family, my
Yeah.
friends. I just want to see my people. And then just the fact that I have to worry
Yeah.
about certain things, coming back. And like I said,
Yeah.
that's the thing about travel and living abroad, because on the outside looking in, like, people, there's so many Americans. So this is the best country in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, is it? Like,
I was gonna say, have you
so,
actually lived anywhere else? Have you
yeah,
actually, experienced that? Yeah,
right,
no, I totally get
right.
it. I
hmm
totally get it. Because I
Yeah,
mean, everybody thinks that because this is where you live, this is where you're from, this is what you've been told. But I
exactly.
mean, that experience of living abroad, I have not personally lived abroad, but I think I plan to. What my goal is to take an entire year off and live in 4 different
Yes,
countries. So I just want to
yes.
go. I want to learn French, which is funny, and I
Nice.
want to immerse myself in different French-speaking countries. So
Yeah, that's
I'm right.
cool.
I'm coming for that. I'm coming for
All
that.
right
That's my
now, make
goal.
it
Okay.
happen, sis.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm coming for it.
It is yours. You're speaking into existence.
You better say it. You better say it. Okay. I love that. Okay. So let's actually talk about support a little bit.
Mm,
So I know there are tons of people who feel like they cannot live anywhere without a support system,
mm,
right? So
mm.
whether it be in the
Mhm.
States or anywhere else, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about that? And what are your suggestions?
That's a really good question. For me, I have been so blessed. Like I was saying before, coming into South Korea and having that tribe, that group of
Hmm.
people who were my community. When I was living there, and then same thing here in Oman. Like, you will find your people wherever you go. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, when you put yourself out there, like, being a teacher, you're not coming in. From my personal experience, being a teacher,
Hmm.
or even if you're a diplomat, no matter whatever opportunity you find abroad, like, there's going to be a community there. Hopefully, it's the community of people, like-minded people like you.
Yeah.
But if not, you will get out there and find people. Like, there are people. There's networking events you can go
Hmm.
to. So for me, it's like, be open to the possibility of finding your tribe abroad.
Yeah.
Or
I
even in the
love that.
States. Like, I was in
Mhm.
Chicago by myself. Like, my family, my mom and my sisters, they have moved out to Atlanta. So ironically
Yeah.
enough, I see them more now when I come home in the summer as a teacher,
Yeah.
compared to when I used to have my little 2 weeks of holiday. When I used to work in
Wow.
market research, I'd be
Yeah.
lucky to see them for Christmas or New Year's. But
Which is crazy.
now,
Yeah.
isn't that something? That's like, I live
Yep.
on the other side of the globe. I get to come home for 2 months and spend all this quality time. I didn't have
Yeah.
that when I was in the States. So
That's
it's like,
beautiful. That's
you know.
beautiful. It's amazing how and not to like be weird or anything, but like the structure of corporate life. You get caught in that really, really quick. And so
hmm
I think
hmm
having, and not to say this is like a different, because you're still working a schedule, I would say, and you're still working with other
Yes.
people and things like that. But to have a job that is not corporate or not set in the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, like we've kind of
hmm
all been set, to learn.
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
so beautiful because your life has so many different aspects that you can actually be so flexible. And being able to come home and spend 2 months off, I mean, you'll never get that in a corporate job. You know what I mean? So I think that's
hmm
beautiful. And
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I always tell people, I'm like, look for these. I mean, not to say that, 9 to 5s are bad. I've done it. Most people I
Right.
think have gotten
Oh,
into it at
yeah.
some
Yeah.
point. But,
Hmm.
be flexible, do try something
Yeah.
different. You know what I mean? You never know. You
And
might end up
that's
in Amman for 8 years.
See, right? Isn't that crazy? And it's like, and that's the thing about it. And it's so like having this conversation, just listening to you is just like, because like I'm a travel blogger and influencer on the side, like that's
Yeah.
my side business, the writing
Yeah.
and everything. And
I love it.
I look at my girlfriends and my male friends, my friends who are influencers and who are digital nomads, just
Mm-hmm.
like your plan for the year. Like I know people who just live like that all the time because
Love
they're
it.
like, oh, I can move to Thailand for a few months and work
Oh,
on the internet.
love it.
Then I can, and I look at them and I'm just like, oh, that is goals. But then
Yeah.
when I look at, but now thinking back when I was like, I went from corporate America to where I'm at now, and I've still been able to travel the world. Like,
Yep.
I should just be grateful for what
That's
I
the shit.
have. We're always looking over like,
Of
okay,
course.
what's next? Like,
Of course. Of course.
I want to be
That's a
this
human,
digital
right? We're
nomad
all
now.
human.
That's just human
Yeah.
nature, right? That's how we
Well,
do.
what about the grass greener over there? Like, hold on. I mean, not to say that you can't, do
Yeah.
it, live it, try it. And worst case, I always
Right.
say, try it. If it doesn't work out, you can come back to where you were, or you can try something
Mm,
different. Like, you are
that's
never
true.
stuck unless you decide that you are stuck.
Hey man, that is so
Yeah.
true. That is so
So
true. But that's the other thing too. I have a nice, comfortable life to hear no mind, and
I love it.
so it's like, do I want to give that up?
Well,
It's like
listen,
I know
that was my next question. I was going to say, do you see yourself living somewhere else? I know you said Portugal, of course, and that was goals, but anywhere else
Yes.
in the meantime or prior to that?
I don't know. That's a good question because it's like I keep telling myself when I leave Oman or the Middle East in general, like
Hmm.
I don't want to go into another teaching position. So
Okay.
like, maybe I will become a digital nomad if I can be a full-time freelance travel writer
Beautiful.
be like
Beautiful.
that will be, where I don't have to be stuck,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
different, I can like that will be the goal, the
Yeah.
dream. But in the meantime, if I'm going to be teaching for another few years, I mean, my life, I like what I have here. So
Yeah.
I will stay here until I'm able to
You
move on to
decide.
that
Yeah.
next
Oh, I
opportunity.
love it
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you find a place that you just I mean, that to me is beautiful. And some
Yeah.
place that you never imagined wasn't even on your radar. I think that is so wonderful. All right, y'all. Now
Hmm.
listen, that right there to me is gold. It's just an adventure. You know what I mean? You created this
Yeah.
life in this different country that you had no idea of. That's
Mm.
beautiful.
Oh,
I love
thanks.
it. Yeah. So, all right. So let's say if you could start your expat journey all over again, knowing everything that you know right now, would you do
Mm.
anything differently?
Ooh. I definitely might start thinking
Okay.
about like just the drama and having that condo in Chicago and having to
Yeah.
go back, and it was so stressful trying to in my summer vacation get rid of a whole a condo full of things. It was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I just would have got rid of that before I left the
Yeah.
first
You're like,
time.
I'm done. Thanks.
I definitely would have just been definitely freer
Okay.
in my line of thought
Yeah.
starting out,
Yeah.
even though everything worked out, but
Yeah. Of course. I mean, but the thing
yeah,
is, you have the knowledge now. You know what you could have done better, or maybe not even better, just
exactly,
differently. You know what I mean?
differently,
So, yeah.
exactly. Mhm.
I love that. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get into some questions about these books. So, as I told you guys, Nicole is an author of multiple books. And apparently, I don't know if I can tell the juicy details. Are we working on something right now? Can I say that?
Yes, please feel
Oh, okay.
free.
Okay. So we got I wasn't sure. I didn't want to put it out there yet. So yeah, so I want to go ahead and talk about this. So right now you have a book called A Guide to Landing an English Teaching Job Abroad, right?
Yes,
So who
yes.
will benefit the most from reading this book? Do you have to have a
Mm.
college degree? Do you have to be multilingual? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, that it's so interesting because as a blogger influencer, I would get so many questions in my inbox about like, how
Mm,
did you get into teaching English abroad?
yeah.
Where do you recommend I teach? And for me,
Yes.
I was like, okay, I might as well write a book about it. I'm getting
Yep.
all of these
Yeah.
questions. I wrote a blog, and the blog was the inspiration. I was like, I can expand this into an entire book, honestly.
I love
So,
it.
it's literally for people who are interested in possibly teaching ESL abroad. You want to
Hmm.
research about different programs like EPIC, the English program in Korea,
Hmm.
or you want to learn about JET in Japan, or I've compiled basically a lot of the data that people don't want to,
Yeah.
do the research. I was like, I did it for them.
Yep.
Basically,
All
I'm
here.
like that middle person.
Oh,
And
I love
and
it.
I interviewed about, I think, was it 10? Yeah, I have 10 expat interviews in the book, people who taught in different
Nice.
countries. So, and gave tips about resume writing
Mm-hmm.
and interviewing and TESOL, teaching English as a second language program. So I've compiled a lot of information in that book
Wow.
to help people along the way who are interested in getting into this lifestyle. And
Beautiful.
it can be someone who has a 4-year degree. I mean, there are some
Okay.
programs out there for people who don't have 4-year degrees. So
Okay.
I tried to compile all of the information
Yeah.
for the people. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And do you have to be multilingual for that program?
No. Oh no.
Okay. All right, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all hear it now.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of these countries, like I said, English is that global language that they're
Yeah.
teaching. So
That's
they
really
need
beautiful.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Okay. So wonderful. So let's see. What do you want people to know about reading this book, or, what the information within this book?
Hmm. I definitely want them to know that there are so many opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying before, like some people they may be intimidated, like, oh, do I have the right skill set, or do I
Yeah.
have the right degree? And
Yeah.
I try to basically take them on a journey for them to learn about different opportunities and really
I
to
love it.
research,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take the
Yeah. I
time to
love it.
research
Yeah.
and decide what is the best place for them. Some people may have no idea where to begin, and
Yeah.
that
Of
was really
course.
the
Yeah.
purpose of me writing that. It was like, let me help you out,
Oh,
help
I
you on the
love it.
journey.
I love it. Okay, wonderful. So you also have the book, An ABC Guide to Children's Games Around the Globe. That sounds so interesting and so sweet
Um,
for the babies.
so
So which age
yes.
of children do you think would enjoy this book the most?
I geared this book is actually dedicated to my nephews. I'm so excited. When I go home this
Oh,
summer, I'm actually going to gift it to them. Like, I'm
that's
literally just
beautiful.
right before we started our call, like I was checking some of the final
Oh,
illustrations from my
that's
illustrator.
wonderful.
So
Yeah.
by the time I get home this summer in June, I'll actually just be publishing the book, and I'm going to gift it to my nephews. So the age range that is geared toward for them, it's like preteen, so like between 8 and
Okay.
12.
Oh, I
Because
love it.
literally, there's an ABC guide. So for every letter of the alphabet, a country is
Yeah.
represented, and it's teaching them about games around the
Mm-hmm.
world. So
That's
it's like, and
beautiful.
how ideas inspire them to hopefully want to travel the world in the
Travel. Yeah,
future.
that's nice.
So yeah,
So
I'm
what
so
countries
excited.
are based in that or featured in that book?
Well, I actually S is for South Korea,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so O is for Oman, where I live. So it's
Yeah.
really cool because
Okay.
it's like when I give it to my nephews, they're gonna be like, Auntie, like this
Yeah.
is you live there. So like that's really like for every letter. Like I
Oh,
chose obviously some countries that are close to my heart, but then
yeah.
obviously like Y is for Yemen. I've never been to Yemen,
Yeah.
but it's like so like I had, but it was
But
it was a
yeah.
process researching
Oh,
some of these countries that I had never experienced. But really, it's just really just to open the kids' mind to
I
like
love it.
learning about the world. So that was the idea. So I'm so excited. Like it's this. I literally just published today the my book, the trailer, the video.
Yes.
So
Congrats. That's wonderful.
thank
Oh, that's
you.
wonderful. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So where can the listeners and viewers purchase the book? Amazon, website, let us know.
Yes, it's definitely a guide to land in a English teaching job abroad is already available on Amazon, and in
Wonderful.
the coming weeks, probably in the next few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks,
Okay.
the ABC Children's Game book will be available on Amazon, and hopefully, inshallah, and some retailers as well. I'm trying to set
I
that up where
love
you'll be
it.
able to do print on demand
Mm-hmm.
and Barnes and Nobles and a few
Beautiful.
other retailers. So excited!
Beautiful, beautiful one. Congratulations. I'll definitely be
Thank
getting one.
you.
I have a cousin who I believe is
Yes,
10 or 11 actually. So
perfect.
perfect, perfect, perfect,
Yes,
perfect. So
yes.
I think that'll be wonderful. Okay, so
Awesome.
let's say you are also the co-founder of I Love to Trot travel site and community. Tell us more
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I love to globetrot. That's my online travel community
Mm-hmm.
/blog, And my business partner Renee, she's based in Australia. She actually just got back home a week ago. She hadn't left the country in over 2 years
Oh
with
my
the
gosh,
pandemic.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Australia was closed. So
Shut it
she's
down.
back in the States now. So we're going to actually have like a trip this summer in Belize. We're going to do
I
like a
love
meetup
it.
for some of
I
our
love it.
members. So after
Well, I'm gonna
this
be over
pandemic.
there. Let me look. I'm gonna go ahead and listen. I love
See?
Belize now. I'll be there
Yes,
for that.
now it's my first time, so I'm excited. So let me send you that link, girl.
Let's
But
go. Let's
yeah,
go.
so let's go. So, but yeah, I love the Globetrot. Like the whole idea was we started the site when we met in South Korea,
Okay.
and our last year in Korea, 2012. So I
Okay.
was actually leaving to come to Oman. I left for
Hmm.
a year or so, but I was leaving to come to Oman,
Yeah.
and she was moving to Australia from South Korea. So we
Yeah.
started the travel community. It's two Black women. We're just going to
Yeah.
document our experiences and talk about living
I love
abroad and
it.
hope they inspire people. So
Love
we
it.
have I Love the Globetrot, the travel group on Facebook, like over
Yeah.
10,000 members now. And then we have the
Wonderful.
blog,
Yeah.
and then so we try to do host trips and things of that nature. We're hoping to do a retreat next year. And so we have some things in store. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's I Love the Globetrot. Yeah.
That means we need to keep following and keep watching. Okay. I love that. So, do you guys discuss living abroad on there, or just more so like traveling?
It's a little bit of both. We definitely, because I mean there are so many people in the community, are people that friends that we made through the years being travelers, who are a lot of them are teachers and diplomats and doing these different
That's
things. So
wonderful.
we
Yeah.
have a lot of expats, and we try, some people we post travel deals, like people post deals, but then
Yeah.
also people ask for questions, travel advice, and moving
It's
abroad
just
advice, a
open.
little bit of
Yeah.
everything. It's a hodgepodge of travel and expat information.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
yeah.
beautiful. Okay. So, where can the Next Stop Nonstop family find and join that community? I know you said it's on
Uh,
your blog.
Yeah. The blog, the name is ilovetoglobetrot.com. And also
Hmm.
on Facebook, it's by the same name. The group is ILUV. It's a unique spelling.
Hmm.
LUV, the number two for our
Okay.
two partners, and then Globetrot. So if you search for that, you can find the group on Facebook. And we have a fan page as well. Well, it's IG and Twitter as well. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love it. All right, perfect. Well, what I'll do is I'll ask one more question before we wrap up today. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to live abroad but may be hesitant or just doesn't know where to start?
Hmm. Well, my advice would definitely be, as far as research is concerned, um, looking at travel communities like I would
Hmm.
love the Globetrot and different expat communities. There's if you're African American, there's a brothers and sisters group for almost every country. You got one from Korea and
Nice.
Japan,
Okay.
parts of Europe and what have you. So join some of these communities and really talk to people and ask questions and really immerse yourself to see like how people are living now. Do
Yeah.
do the research beforehand, but there's so much information out there with social media. It's just endless,
Yeah.
and bloggers community. So definitely, yeah. But just at the end of the day, step out on faith like I did. Like
I
I
mean, it
just said,
works
hold it
out.
everywhere. It works
Yeah.
out. It works out.
And
Mhm.
and worst case, what? You build confidence, you learn something new, you make some friends, right?
Absolutely
Can you
that.
go wrong? I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah. So I think that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out to talk to us today. I really appreciate it. This has been incredible. I've learned some things. And like I said, I'll definitely be part of the community because, like I
Yeah.
said, I wanted to take my year off and live in 4 different countries. So, I mean,
Hmm.
that to me is just incredible that you can do that and just find your confidence and learn so much along the way. So, thank you so much for
Exactly.
joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This has been really fun.
I'm
Thank you
glad.
so
Is there
much.
anything else you wanted to let the Next Stop Nonstop family know?
Just keep following along the I Love the Globetrot, and I have my personal IG, Nicole dot I Love the Globetrot. And hopefully, if you're interested, or if you want to inspire those little future Globetrotters,
Yeah,
I also have the ABC Children's Game page on Facebook
perfect.
and on IG. So follow along all of my socials.
Yeah,
That'll be
come on.
great.
Get on board. Well, I love it. And thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing what's in the future for you.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Of course. All
Nice
right, guys. And
chatting.
I'll see you guys later on the next episode of the Next Stop Nonstop podcast. So until we meet again, I want to wish you all healthy minds and happy travels.